Don't let the boat fool you. This water is not for sailing. In fact, it's one of the most polluted waterways in the country. The Gowanus Canal was built nearly 150 years ago to allow for easy maritime access for manufacturers of a busy industrial site. And it is because of those very manufacturers that the canal is now a federal Superfund site, a designation by the EPA of an uncontrolled area with hazardous waste in need of a cleanup.
And what ended up happening is that this was prior to any kind of industrial regulation, and waste from these industries ended up in the canal.
Ending up in the canal alongside this industrial waste is the sewage runoff after a rainstorm. Together, they contaminate the water with PCBs, metals, and polyaromatic hydrocarbons, many of which are known human carcinogens. Cleaning up such a polluted waterway will be a huge undertaking. The contaminated sediment can be as much as 30 feet thick, and some of the contamination has even reached into the native sediment, forcing the EPA to dredge and cap the sediment so it doesn't recontaminate. But what about the risk of contamination from the sewage runoff? After all, rainstorms just aren't going to disappear.
There'll be cut-off walls built to stop the contamination from re-entering the canal. The retention tanks will be built to capture that first flush of water from the sewer outfalls, and the dredging will take place with the capping.
But the Gowanus Canal isn't the only Superfund site, not even the only one in the borough. Just under 8 miles away, the Newtown Creek is in a similar state of disrepair. Like the Gowanus Canal, the creek lives in the middle of a busy industrial zone, and it too has suffered through over a century of environmental neglect. But it shares another striking similarity with the canal. Despite the contamination of both waterways, the surrounding neighborhoods are seeing similar trends of gentrification. Rent is skyrocketing and businesses are opening up shop, all just blocks from the highly contaminated waters. One would need to come in direct contact with the polluted waters for it to be any sort of health hazard, which is very unlikely. But the waterways can have other effects on the community.
Whenever you bike around this area or walk around this area after a bad storm, it smells like sewage all over the place. You know, 3 or 4 blocks away from the Gowanus Canal. That can't be healthy. There's no way that's healthy. But you can see people are moving in anyways.
Moving in, sometimes without the knowledge of what's around them.
I do think there is a lack of awareness about the environmental hazards that people are living near. You know, it's something I think a homeowner or a renter should be aware of, but maybe they're not getting the full story. So that's definitely part of our awareness, is letting more people know that, you know, if you're going to raise a family nearby, be aware of the environmental issues that are present here.
Others, like Jenny Elgie, a resident of Gowanus for just over 2 years, knew of the issues, but decided that the perks of the neighborhood were just too good to pass up.
The proximity to the city is amazing. You're only a few stops on the train, and you know, the school, I have a child, a 9-month-old, the schools in Carroll Gardens in particular, very good. It's a very neighborhood kind of vibe, lots of young families. Now with Whole Foods, you've got a great supermarket. I did feel like the neighborhood was on its way up, so if anything it was going to improve, not deteriorate.
A feeling which Oni says explains the jump in market value.
Everyone knew the Gowanus Canal was there. Everyone knew it was contaminated. Everyone knew Newtown Creek was there. Everyone knew it was contaminated. But here, for the first time, there is an entity that's stepping in that's going to be cleaning up the canal. And one of the things that I do know about real estate is they're always thinking forward. So I suspect that real estate developers are thinking about what the canal will be looking like 10 years from now once it's cleaned up. They're speculating on the future vision of the canal.
A vision where Superfund sites can also be super fun.